Originally revealed back in June of 2019, this title has had a notoriously long and complicated time in development. With more ambition than any LEGO title preceding it, expectations have been high. Featuring beautiful graphics, a move to a fully third-person camera, and spanning 9 different movies, it is easy to understand why this one took so long to make. And it is my favorite in this long-running LEGO game series from developer Traveler's Tales. It is one of the best, most content-rich, and just plain fun family games ever made. Please allow me to explain why in the XboxEra review of LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. I began my journey from the chronological beginning, Episode 1, which is, of course, the 4th movie, and not Episode 4, which is, of course, the 1st movie. I have no love for the prequel trilogy as actual movie-watching experiences, but I found myself loving every second of them in this game. The humor instilled into every moment, along with the quick pacing of the main story for each film, transformed these cinematic failures into a game experience I loved in a way that I did not think possible. Out of all 9 films, the greatest beneficiary by far is Episode 2, a dreary film with a terrible love story that gets lampooned hilariously at every opportunity here. Gone are long Senate debates about political issues, and instead there's a tight focus on fun gameplay opportunities that zips us through in a few hours if we choose to go from quest to quest. This singular focus on fun permeates through everything on offer here, and there is a lot of it. Moving to a predominantly third-person, over-the-shoulder perspective, and featuring a surprisingly large number of different class archetypes, flying levels, submarine levels, and tons of various minigames mixed throughout, this is the best playing LEGO game by far. The cover system for ranged fighting might not be the smoothest, the melee's a little spam heavy, and there's no real risk of failure, but it all adds up to something that really works. It's not perfect, but it's not aiming to be. It's a family-focused, fun game featuring basic puzzles with the most obvious solutions, but you have split-screen co-op, which is emphasized throughout, as extra characters are added in where necessary to facilitate 2 players. And we received our Deluxe Edition code a bit late for this review, so I did marathon the title over the course of a day or two, which isn't the ideal way of playing it. Still, it held up even with only short breaks in between each movie. I've barely scratched the surface of free play on each map, but I can tell you that this game is as massive as you want it to be. Have no interest in unlocking everything, earning all the numerous upgrades, and you just want to see each movie? The option is there with no grinding required to progress the story outside of only the first movie in each trilogy being available until you beat the previous one's story overall. I would have liked them all to be open right at the start, but I get why they didn't do that for progression reasons. And there are various progression systems in this game, which are tied to things such as upgrading your core abilities, upgrading the abilities of the many varied class archetypes that each character falls under, and finding minifigure pieces to unlock more characters in ships for free play mode. Upgrade blocks are the main currency you must earn to upgrade your characters, and they can be found through various means. The first is finding enough studs during each main story mission to reach a certain threshold, which can net you 3 upgrade blocks. There are hidden blocks around the game, both during missions or free play. Various mini-games and puzzles can get them for you, along with a wide variety of in-mission challenges. It's an excellent system that rewards replaying through and exploring content that you've already seen. With just how big this game is and all the various locations on offer, I cannot imagine how long it will take someone to 100% it all. And if you don't care about all that stuff, your characters are still plenty capable without it, as the upgrades generally serve to make things a bit easier and never block off progression in any way. The figure pieces can be devilishly tricky at times to find, and in my limited time in free play, I spent it mostly hunting these down. Story mode is generally locked to certain characters, but the game features 380 in total, with the Deluxe Edition adding in characters from Solo and Mandalorian. Running around the forests of Endor or the desert of Jakku with Mando was a surreal experience. All this nostalgic bliss is carried along by some pretty darn solid third-person action. As I said before, nothing gameplay-wise is great, but it all ranges from okay to very good. I can't think of a more direct way to state it. The controls never got in the way for me on Series X, and I played in the 60 frames per second mode, but I can't pretend like they're all great. It's a serviceable system in the best sense of that word. Jedi lightsabers feel powerful. Blasters feel a bit slow to aim, but are deadly with headshots. Melee's a bit of a spam fest, but with a tiny bit more variety than in past LEGO titles. And flying feels tight, though perhaps a bit too tight at times. Sometimes the puzzles feel like they're repeated too often, and having to constantly swap between characters who may be miles apart when playing solo to accomplish basic tasks can be frustrating like always. But when those issues don't crop up, it's an absolute blast, and thankfully, that was most of the time. As stated previously, there are several class archetypes ranging from Jedi to Sith, scavengers who can craft on the fly, astromechs who solve very boring puzzles, protocol droids who are the only ones who can speak to various aliens in their own languages, and so on. Jedis and Sith using lightsabers and force powers feels incredibly powerful in fights, with force picking up and throwing being a delight to use on random NPCs during traversal. I must have knocked down the NPC escorting Obi-Wan to the Camino clone facility 50 times before we finally reached Jango Fett. I hit that poor bastard with damn near every single loose item in his facility, and watching him fall on his ass every time while I laughed like a child. I think I shot Jar Jar Binks more than any droid during Episode 1 as he blundered his way through the environment in front of me. And the lack of any penalty and that emphasis on just playing with your toys carried the mood brilliantly. The ship combat occurs both in space and in the skies of various planets, and even once or twice underwater. It handles well, and it's a simple system like everything else. I don't believe I ever saw a game over screen or any type of failure state that required me to restart anything. Again, this is a family game and not LEGO Elden Ring, so I appreciate it. It might be hard to believe, but graphically this game is stunning. It is that classic, simplistic LEGO style, but it's at a scope never seen before. I used the 4K 60 FPS mode, though there is a always 4K and not dynamic 30 FPS mode on Series S, and it is one of the best looking titles on the system. The levels are huge, though pop-in is noticeable in the flatter ones, and the variety on offer location-wise is ridiculous. You go from the slums of Coruscant to the far too often seen lately desert of Tatooine, and nearly every classic Star Wars location is available here. And you'll barely scratch the surface of most of the maps while playing the story, only going where the movies did. In free play, I found dozens of side areas with puzzles, quests, and rumors for me to look into. Also, the characters' mouths and faces animate constantly, though the lips don't really sync. This game even features Destiny-style slow descents into planet when going from space into the cloud cover as a masked, short loading screen. And those load times are short everywhere, which is big as you will be moving from area to area at a breakneck pace at times during both story and free play segments. As expected, the DMCA strike-rich musical score of Star Wars is here in all its John Williams-powered glory, as it should be. Though, as you'll notice, this review has just got sound-alike music, because I don't want to get in trouble. What is unexpected is the fully voiced sound-alike treatment on offer for voices. Featuring many of the animated series sound-alikes, it's fantastic, and it must have been a staggering amount of work. Even with that, they offer the classic distorted LEGO voices from the very early games as an option as well if you prefer it. All the classic Star Wars sound effects show up as well, with the concussion mine of Jango Fett's ship in Episode 2 sending shivers down my spine as it boomed in my headphones. I did run into various bugs while playing, with the majority being scripting errors where characters would stand around, but they fix themselves every time. The worst offender I can remember was Han Solo standing in front of a button that I had told him to push for 30 seconds or so during the opening of The Force Awakens before he finally remembered how his hands worked and he pressed it. Also, performance during gameplay felt perfect, but I did notice the occasional slowdown during some intense cutscenes. I really do think the main issues with the game for me are tied to how I chose to marathon it for this review after getting our copy a day after embargo went out. Many puzzles are reused, and if you play the game non-stop for a day straight, it gets quite grating. If you're mixing things up with free play mode, or just taking your time like any sane person would, then I highly doubt this is going to be an issue. Wrapping things up, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is an incredible achievement. Spanning 9 feature-length films, yet never feeling like it overstays its welcome, while featuring tons of actually funny, stupid jokes, solid gameplay, gorgeous graphics, great voice acting, and all the nostalgia you could ever wish for, this game is a triumph. It has done the impossible and made me actually enjoy spending times with episodes 1, 2, and even 9. Hell, not only enjoy, but absolutely love it. Holy Snokes, is this game awesome? And everyone who has ever enjoyed Star Wars at all should absolutely play it. Thank you as always for watching, and if you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help that YouTube algorithm. And you can visit us at patreon.com/XboxEra if you really want to help. We'll see you next time.